Jamie Dornan speaks, Amelia saved me, and I'll protect our peace forever. By Lena Hartfield, London, April 2025. After Amelia's words, the world fell silent. It has been 3 weeks since Amelia Warner's essay went live, a quiet, heartfelt plea that ended with a single line. We are living in peace. Please do not destroy that peace. The piece, published without fanfare, reverberated across social media and newsrooms. For once, the public's appetite for drama collided with something gentler, stillness. Now, Jamie Dornan sits by the window of a café in Belfast, the early spring light catching the silver at his temples. I didn't expect people to listen, he says softly. You never do, really. But I think Amelia's words reminded everyone that we're human first, famous later. The actor looks lean, rested, thoughtful, a far cry from the tabloid caricatures that once shadowed his life. He stirs his coffee, glances outside, and smiles faintly. She said what we both wanted to say. Only she said it better. The life they build away from noise. In 2025, Jamie Dornan's world no longer revolves around Hollywood. He works selectively, travels when necessary, and spends most of his time between Ireland and the English countryside. My priorities shifted, he admits. Fame was a hurricane for a while. You can't stand in the middle of that forever, you either find shelter or you get blown away. That shelter was Amelia Warner. Married since 2013, they've weathered nearly a decade of speculation, separation rumors, and social media autopsies of their marriage. I used to fight every story, Jamie says. You think you can correct the narrative, that if you explain enough, people will understand. But the truth is, you just end up shouting into the wind. It was Amelia who insisted they leave Los Angeles and sail quietly. She saw what it was doing to me, he recalls. The stress, the anxiety, I'd smile through it, but she knew. Now their life is intentionally ordinary, school runs, cooking, family hikes, evenings by the piano. Peace isn't glamorous, Jamie laughs. But it's addictive. Once you taste it, you don't go back. The essay that stopped Hollywood. When Amelia's open letter appeared online, neither of them anticipated its reach. Within 24 hours, it had been quoted by outlets from The Guardian to People, translated into 10 languages, and dissected by fans who had followed their story for years. It wasn't a PR move, Jamie insists. It wasn't even meant for the public. She wrote it as a form of breathing. But when she showed it to me, I said, if you're brave enough to share this, maybe people will finally see what peace really looks like. Quote. He pauses, then adds quietly, it's strange, the thing that made the most noise in our career was the moment we asked for silence. Behind closed doors. At home, the response to the essay brought a mix of relief and hesitation. Their daughters, now old enough to read headlines, asked questions. We told them, Mummy and Daddy just want everyone to be kind, Jamie says. He remembers the morning after publication. Amelia in the kitchen, phone buzzing with messages. She looked terrified, he admits. Not because of backlash, but because she'd opened a wound. There's vulnerability in honesty. But the reaction surprised them. Messages from colleagues, directors, even strangers poured in, not with gossip, but gratitude. One producer wrote, "Thank you for reminding us that fame doesn't excuse cruelty." Jamie looks down. People forget how easily words can wound. Amelia gave us permission to feel tired, to admit that constant exposure isn't normal. Reconciling public and private selves. Few actors have experienced the whiplash of fame like Jamie Dornan. From 50 Shades of Grey's cultural explosion to his more recent critically acclaimed work, Belfast, The Tourist, he's lived both the fantasy and the fatigue of global visibility. I was 33 when 50 Shades came out, he says. Suddenly everyone had an opinion, on my body, my marriage, my faithfulness, my smile. It was surreal. You start thinking, do I even exist outside this? That loss of identity, he admits, seeped into his personal life. There were days when Amelia would ask, "How are you, Jamie?" and I'd genuinely not know how to answer. Because the world had already decided who I was. He credits his wife for pulling him back. She anchored me when I was drifting. I owe her everything for that. Amelia as the steady note. Asked what he felt reading Amelia's essay, Jamie exhales. Pride. And a bit of shame, if I'm honest. Shame that she ever had to defend our peace. He pauses, searching for words. She's the calmest person I know. When she wrote, "We are living in peace," that wasn't poetic. It was literal. Our home runs on quiet. She writes music in silence. I think in silence. And yet, the world kept trying to break that. Jamie says the essay changed him. It reminded me that silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a decision to choose kindness over chaos. Lessons on marriage. Marriage, Jamie insists, is not a fairy tale. People think being married to someone famous must be glamorous. It's not. It's work, gentle, daily, sometimes hard work. He smiles faintly. We've had seasons of closeness and seasons of distance. What kept us together wasn't perfection, it was patience. Amelia always says, love doesn't need to be loud to be real. And she's right. He recalls their early years, before fame consumed them. We were just two kids figuring things out. She was already this incredibly grounded artist. I was ambitious, restless. She balanced that out. On parenthood and perspective. When asked how fatherhood shaped his response to public scrutiny, Jamie becomes thoughtful. You see the world differently when you have daughters. You start asking, what kind of example am I setting? Do they see a man chasing approval, or a man protecting what matters? He describes evenings reading bedtime stories, phone turned off, everything outside their home forgotten. That's where I feel most myself. Acting is what I do. Being their dad, that's who I am. He laughs softly. They don't care about premieres. They just care if I make good pancakes. The burden of celebrity silence. Jamie admits he wrestled with whether to speak publicly at all. For a long time, my instinct was, say nothing. Because anything you say gets twisted. But then I thought. Amelia spoke with grace. The least I can do is stand beside her, not hide behind her. His voice lowers. There's this idea that celebrities owe the public full access. That's dangerous. You can love someone's art without invading their life. Amelia and I aren't trying to be mysterious, we're just trying to be okay. Art and meaning after noise. In the last year, Jamie's artistic choices reflect his search for authenticity. He's turned toward smaller, character-driven projects, independent films, limited series, and even producing. I'm drawn to stories about quiet resilience, he says. Maybe because that's where I am personally. He credits Amelia's creative influence. Her music has this honesty I envy. She composes without ego. Being around that reminds me that art doesn't have to shout to be powerful. When asked if he'll ever write about their shared experiences, Jamie shakes his head. Some stories belong only to us. And that's okay. Ireland, the sanctuary. Back in Ireland, the couple have carved out a rhythm that suits them. Their cottage sits near the sea, surrounded by wildflowers and wind-bent trees. It's not isolation, Jamie explains. It's connection, to nature, to each other, to stillness. He spends mornings running along the coast, afternoons writing, evenings cooking with the family. There's a serenity here you can't fake. I think people romanticize it, but for us, it's practical. Peace is our survival mechanism. When the world gets loud again. Inevitably, fame resurfaces. New films bring new press tours, and with them, new speculation. I can't control that, Jamie admits. But I can control how I react. He keeps a simple rule: no reading comments, no chasing rumors. You'd go mad otherwise. I tell myself, if it's true, I already know it. If it's false, it doesn't deserve space in my head. When the noise peaks, he calls Amelia. She'll just say, come home. And that's enough. Home is the cure. Faith and kindness. Near the end of our conversation, Jamie grows reflective. People love redemption arcs, he says. They want the scandal, then the comeback. But real redemption is quieter. It's choosing decency every day. He leans forward, voice lower. Amelia's essay wasn't about forgiveness or apology. It was about boundaries. About saying, we are still here, but you don't own us. And I think that resonated. A public declaration, a private promise. When asked what he would say directly to Amelia, Jamie smiles. I'd say thank you, for her patience, her bravery, and for saving me from a version of myself that fame almost created. He takes a long pause. Amelia saved me not in some dramatic way, not with grand gestures, but by holding space for the quieter parts of life. She taught me that peace isn't passive, it's protective. He adds, I promised her, whatever happens, I won't let the noise back in. If that means saying no to certain projects, interviews, or events, then so be it. The world can wait. Our peace can't. The final word. As our interview ends, Jamie steps outside into the thin Belfast drizzle. People pass by without much notice. A few nod politely. He nods back. Before parting, he says, I used to think the goal was to be everywhere. Now I realize the goal is to be present, in one place, with one heart, with one family. He smiles, that familiar warmth returning. Fame will fade, stories will fade, but if you can wake up next to peace, you've won. Later that evening, Amelia posts a photo on social media. Their daughters running through an Irish meadow, sunlight spilling across the grass. No caption. Minutes later, Jamie reposts it with a single line. She taught me that silence can be love, too. And for once, the internet stays quiet, not because it doesn't care, but because maybe, finally, it understands.